Good morning. So, Leadership Periscope number 5, or may even be number 6. Time flies when you're having fun, eh? Today is about employee engagement, and I know what you're thinking, if you're even watching. Another article about employee engagement. And I really think after I'm done with this video, if you want to share it with Huffington Post or LinkedIn or any of those great sites, this might be the one to nail it and help people be better engagers of their workforce and really get people to gravitate towards engaging within the organization. And I have to tell you, it's not rocket science. It's not founded by studies. There isn't 20 years of analyzing great organizations and employee engagement. It's none of that. It's experience of where I've worked and leaders I've worked for and when I've felt engaged and when given the responsibility to lead, what I've done to engage my workforce, and then what that team has told me through measurement in what's working and what can be improved. We measure, people who truly care about employee engagement measure it as much as they measure KPIs, as much as they measure customer feedback, and believe that it all starts at home, and also realize they're not perfect, then there's always things to work on. So I thought I'd do a little Periscope here on giving you some very concrete things you can do as a leader, if you're not doing them today, that drive employee engagement. I've been lucky enough to lead teams that always seem to score very well here, give positive feedback, and are among the most engaged in the organizations that I work in. And more than likely in the organizations that I work in are some of the most admired work cultures for employee engagement, most where I've worked. People seem to think that employee engagement equals perks. That seems to be a misconception out there, and it certainly is not. It's not about slides. It's not about free food. It's not about drinks on Friday. It's not about taking everyone out to the bowling alley. All of those things are great recognition tools, and they're great perks more than anything. Engagement is pretty simple when you think about it, guys. It's how willing are people to engage? How involved are they? How much do they care? How much do they think they're making an impact? Yet we seem to think that people will be more engaged if we give them stuff. And I'm not suggesting that stuff isn't important. I mean, everyone likes to work in a cool workplace with lots of fun things that they can be proud to tell their friends they do and get to use at work. But those are nice to haves. The needs for engagement are involvement. And let me tell you a little bit about that, because I want to be concrete, because there's a million vlogs out there and articles about engagement and studies, and the more you engage your team and talk to them and get their feedback, the more engaged they'll be, and blah, 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 blah. Enough. Here's some concrete things you can do that I've been lucky enough to learn from other leaders that I've worked for. One, all starts with a connection meeting. You've heard me talk about that on podcasts before, or Periscopes before, or blogs before. Get to know the individual you've been held accountable to lead. Get to understand what makes them tick, personally and professionally. And yes, I do mean personally. These people spend more time with you at work than they do with their families in a lot of occasions. Well, how do you work with them to understand what's important to them when they get outside of work? So you see what they value, and you can make things relative to that when applicable. One-on-ones. And one-on-ones, there's a lot of people do them. They're not report outs. They're not just, here are your numbers, go fix them. They are a box for recognition. Here's what you did great last week. A box for areas of improvement if applicable. Here's what you could work on that would make things better. They are a box for, here's what I need from you this week. They are a box for, what do you need from me? They are a box for KPIs to show the measurables so you can work on the behaviors. And they are a box for an open forum. Tell me what your ideas are. Tell me what your hurdles are. How can we make things better together? You are involved in steering this organization. That creates engagement. But if you have weekly one-on-ones that talk to, your sales number was 11, you got 10, get it up there. Oh, by the way, your average sale was low, your items per sale were low, and got to tell you, your conversion was good though. Keep that up. Those aren't engaging one-on-ones. They're supposed to be partnership opportunities on a regular basis to move the business forward and your careers forward. Personal development strategies, I've spoke to those. You want to get someone engaged? Show them you're invested in them. Show them you're going to help them get to where they need to get if they can help you close that gap. That's a two-way communication street. Team meetings on a regular basis. There's lots of things out there about team meetings. We have them for the sake of having them. Yes, process-driven operational meetings that happen every week because they're supposed to are getting tiring. Somebody wrote a blog on that. Someone who used to blog. Inside LinkedIn joke for those of you who follow me. But team meetings on a regular basis that are based on creative discussion and being very clear of where it's majority decides or leader decides. Talking about recognition in those meetings in front of a group, but also talking about projects and open areas of communication for where you can improve the business and where things need to change, and doing exercise to get the team bought in to delivering those solutions. People want to engage. We normally don't let them. We speak to them. We tell them where they should engage. We tell them what engagement means. We don't involve them. Another piece is managing by walking around. That would mean, in-store visits if you're in sales, retail sales. It would mean observations in the office if you're walking around head office. If you're a CEO or an executive or a manager or a supervisor, there's nothing more engaging to your team members than for you to randomly stop by and say, hey, what are you working on? Hey, that's great work. Why are we doing it? What's that going to create? Where'd you come up with that idea? What do you think this is going to cause? That's amazing work. The reason that's important is the person wasn't expecting it, and you are showing them that they are that valued that you're walking around to find out what they're going to do today to improve the organization, and you're there to give them some feedback. That is engagement. They feel involved. Hugs and love. Since when did this world become about you can't tell someone you appreciate them because that's a sign of weakness? It's crazy. It's the way media manages bad news now, and it sells papers, and that must be the norm. Go out of your way to tell someone they're doing a great job if they're doing it. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't areas of opportunity and people need to be performance managed, but that happens behind four walls. That is you and the individual. And those tough conversations need to happen, but they have to come from a perspective of development. And then when you see the employees no longer willing to adapt to that partnership, and then you got a difficult decision because it's not a knowledge piece, it's a willingness piece. And it's funny, everywhere I've worked, I've had high engagement and low turnover, and people think, he must be a softie. He says that he does all the soft stuff. He's always recognizing people and giving people ribbons. No, I'm having difficult conversations, but I do them behind four walls so the individual is safe. And any turnover that I do have is usually because that individual, I know it's not going in the right direction and there's not a fit. And people usually are surprised saying, wow, I didn't know they weren't doing well. No, and you shouldn't have. That was between me and them. And I hold them just as accountable as I hold you. But no, we think because publicly we stay positive and we recognize you must be a softie. It's things that have to change. I'm telling you this from an individual who has been a part of teams that have driven engagement while driving business results. Stop resisting it. It's not a sign of weakness. Proactive support. Personally. So how are you getting to know people on your team? I've had a couple conversations with people recently where there's been some visual indicators that are telling me something else is going on. And I've been digging and diving and finding out that there's some personal struggles because we all have them. And if you think we don't, wow. Everybody's fighting a battle. I think the thing you see online now is everybody's fighting a battle that someone doesn't know about. It's pretty true. So how are you proactively reading your team and getting to know them? It's nothing more powerful than saying to someone, listen, things are off. I understand things are tough at home or tough with whatever. You need to go cool the jets for a couple days. Get away, rest up. You've been working hard. You've had a great quarter. Go get that stuff cleaned up. I need you fresh. I need you happy. It's a job. It's a job we want you to love, but it's a job. You have a life outside of here. So go work on that. Proactive support. Very important. High value for the team that reports into you or that you work with. Collective wins and losses. Celebrate your wins together at every opportunity. And celebrate, what you did to get there. And then when the team is lost, ask for their engagement. Be very straightforward with the team result. Don't single individuals. Hey, if you missed a target on a KPI for the year, talk about that with the group and say, I need your involvement, guys. We're an elite team. We missed this stat, and here's why it's important. And here are the behaviors that lead into that. What do we got to do to change that, guys? What support do we have to give you? What behavior do you need to change? Those are all things that are engagement driven. Cross-functional departments and initiatives, are really important. They create engagement within working departments and take away silos in an organization. You have to believe in that. You have to trust that. And you got to be willing to take the feedback from those cross-functional committees as real and address them and create the fix, because they're the people who know. They're the people that touch your process and your customers on a frequent basis. I once had a leader, and I'll share a story, and I try and stay positive in these. It's a funny one. I went to him about one of the organizations I worked in and was sharing this vision about, I keep hearing that everybody works in silos here. Let's establish a working functional group that takes those issues and breaks them out of the silos by working together and creates measurable successes for the organization, whatever that may be. And the feedback I got was, why would you let the cripples band together with their crutches and beat you to death? Now, I think what this individual was trying to say was, why do you want 15 different opinions when you're the executive and you should know the answer? But boy, bad choice of words, and for me, a terrible philosophy. I've never looked at the people I work with as the cripples who can band together with their crutches and beat me to death. Listen, if they want to beat me to death, they're going to do that. And they're not cripples and they're not crutches. They're the smart people who know your customer more than you'll ever know them. So you have to trust that. That same individual told me, don't let the inmates run the asylum. Whew. Anyways, now as a last check on engagement, if you want a gut feel to how you're doing, think about yourself and how you feel. When you're empowered to lead people, think about the times when you're disengaged, when you're not motivated. Think about the times when you do spike and you are engaged and you are motivated. What are those triggers and factors, and what's causing that? Is it your boss knowing what you're doing? Is it your boss proactively coming around and saying, hey, great job on what you did last week, here's where it added value? Is it your boss in one-on-one saying, hey, awesome job, by the way, I need you to work on this. Where can I help you with that deficiency? How can I observe? How can I buy in? Is it your boss saying, what do you need from me? You're doing great work. You clearly need a resource. What else can I give you to continue this success? Is it being involved in new projects that you don't do every day? Because that's what gets you going. If you think of yourself and what engages you and you become a leader, supervisor, manager, whatever that may be, and you stay true to that, you're going to create an environment that engages others. And the more of us that do that, the better, highly engaged organizations we can have. I promise you it's not soft stuff that's nice to say and have everybody smiley and everybody gets a ribbon and it doesn't create a business result, because it all starts there. It doesn't take away from difficult, confidential conversations, which also have an impact on the business. But it does create highly engaged workforces that will drive results. And I think the thing we always underestimate as leaders, we're accountable to people's mental health. And you should not take that lightly. Okay? We're here for a reason, to drive business, to solve customers' needs. The better you can make your business, the more people you can employ, the more people you can satisfy in the market. It's critical. But we also have to be cognizant that how we do that impacts people's lives. People go home depressed from work, or they go home motivated from work, or sometimes they go home neutral from what they do at work. If you don't realize that's one of your biggest responsibilities as a leader, I think you should check out. It's my 2 cents. I've never been afraid to share it. Hope you all have a great day. I will have one more Periscope blog next week. Every year I write Periscope broadcast next week. Every year I write a blog or a letter or a note or a video recognizing great people in my life and my career. It's a yearly thing that I think is important we all do. I hope to inspire people to do it with people they work with and their family. So that'll be next week. It won't be too heavy from a philosophical or functional perspective on leadership, but it will be a broadcast of recognition, and I will be naming some of you by name, so I apologize now if that makes you uncomfortable, but based on the viewership, I'm not so sure how quickly it's going to get back to you.